What is up, everybody? Nintenjoel here once again, and as you can see, I have another guest. And this is Ivy, one of my gamer buddies. Say hello, Ivy.
Hello.
And yeah, we had a really cool idea for a video last night, and we'd already been talking about her coming on the show before. So, with this new idea, we figured we should just put it in action. Why don't you go ahead and tell the fine folks what this video is about in case they can't read.
Well, in case you can't read, or if you're like me and you're just way too lazy to do that stuff, sometimes, depending on if the game has titles, is we were talking about, just games in general, got onto the topic of certain developers or certain distributors, and he had already known that I liked Atlus, so he was like, what about Atlus games? Got to talking about that, decided it'd be really fun if we could do a video of some of our favorites, so we got 10 games here, and got some really good choices, I think.
Yeah. Atlus is one of those companies that just seems to have that magical touch, at least for most of their titles. I'm not saying 100% of their titles are amazing by any means, but they have a very good track record, and in my opinion kind of seem to have taken over that very awesome role that like Square and Enix had back in the day of putting out very high quality games. It seems like as soon as Square and Enix joined up, that magic was gone, and Atlus seems to have replaced that magic, so yeah. So anyways, we got 10 good games, as she already said, and I think we'll start with you.
So my first one is Ogre Battle, kind of a classic. It's a lot of one that, even if people don't recognize Atlus as a company or, by name, a lot of people will have Ogre Battle in their collection. Very, very cool game. I got the limited here. Remade on the PlayStation. More soundtrack, more better, graphics. Everything is just kind of improved on it. So definitely a pickup that you need to get.
Yep, originally on the Super Nintendo. But yeah, a little bit upgraded and pretty darn cool if you ask me. I think Ogre Battle is really cool. I have this edition too, but it does not have a manual. Damn it. But yeah, good edition. And going along those same lines, actually, a lot of people don't even realize, but it says right there on the cover that it's an Atlus title, Tactics Ogre on Game Boy Advance. This is one of the tactics games that kind of really got me into this genre. I wasn't really a tactics guy until I started playing like Shining Force and Tactics Ogre, and well, we were arguing about which one it was earlier. Well, not arguing, but got in a discussion about which Final Fantasy Tactics it was. I'm pretty sure it's the Game Boy Advance one that I really like. She thinks it's A2. I'm pretty sure it's Game Boy Advance.
A2 wasn't on. That's
another
topic.
Sure. Yeah, that's a whole other topic. But anyways, yeah, I liked a few kind of select tactics titles, and then Tactics Ogre, I played it a little bit, and I really liked it. I have not spent a lot of time in this game, unfortunately, but I could already tell it's got a really good magic about it. It's just got a good battle system, very customizable with everything, so pretty cool.
Love that one.
Yeah.
My second one is by Atlus as well, obviously, that's what we're doing. But this is a PSP one. There's certain titles on the PSP that you really just gotta get. And Gungnir, I have to say, is just one of those games. It's kind of like Tactics Ogre in that it's that grid-based system. You got the strategy RPG going for you. But this one, storyline is really, really interesting, kind of pulls you in, gets you really interested in what's going on, and it has a feel where it's based around the weapons versus the actual people.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, they serve a purpose, but it's all about the weapons, so it's really cool.
That's really cool. As soon as I saw the back of that game, I really wanted to play it. It just looks really cool, and yeah, unfortunately, some of the really good PSP titles are starting to get recognized, and they're going up in price a little bit, so I'm going to have to get that one real quick before it really raises in price. Okay, so, great selection, by the way. I have an unusual one for you guys. Most people think of Atlus, they think of kind of like PlayStation and Forward, but they did make older games, and they weren't always like RPG and strategy games. They actually did a lot of other games. They still do. There's not everything Atlus is strategy and tactics and RPGs, but one of my favorites, and it gets talked about a lot on this channel, and Retro Gaming Maniac actually mentioned it recently. He did a whole little review on this. Really, really good action game for Super Nintendo, Run Saver. If you like Strider, if you've ever played Strider, whether it's arcade, NES, or Genesis, it's basically a platforming game where you hack and slash with a fucking sword. I mean, it's pretty standard, but it's really good. I mean, you get upgrades to your weapons, and there's really creative bosses, and like you hang on a jet and like destroy shit while you're hanging on a jet.
Cool.
That's pretty fucking cool. I mean, you can't beat that. But yeah, it's just a quality title. Doesn't really get talked a lot about until recently, it seems, and this one's kind of going up in price, so get this one while you can. But yeah, one of the older Atlus titles that really is pretty darn good.
So my next one, a little bit more recent, PS3, because I do my Sony thing. Gotta get the Sony in there, but
still need one.
Catherine. Catherine is an extremely unique game. It's got just the most it's crazy. It is very crazy.
I've heard a lot of things about this game. It's very unusual.
It is definitely a good word for it. You kind of have a choice-based system, which will actually change the story one way or the other. You can choose to send a text message to your girlfriend, and you're having to choose between this chick that you just woke up with, who's kind of crazy but breaks the cycle of, monotony, or your girlfriend who you're supposed to be getting married to. And it is it's a puzzler. It's got a really interesting feel to it.
So weird.
Yeah, you move blocks and push blocks and try to get through things, and there's giant baby fetuses, and it's crazy.
It's such a weird game. I saw footage where somebody basically tore apart the game, all the play footage of it. They took all the movie clips and put it together as one movie, and I just watched intermittent parts because I just wanted to kind of get a feel for what it was, and I was just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was intrigued and really kind of wanted to play it, so yeah, unusual title for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Good choice. Okay, so definitely a favorite, and something else I've mentioned on this channel before, Radiant Historia. I was lucky enough to get the special edition with the soundtrack. This game has an excellent soundtrack, actually. Radiant Historia is an RPG that really kind of harkens back to the Final Fantasy times. Kind of like Bravely Default does today. Kind of Radiant Historia was kind of the same way when this came out. People were really excited about it. And this is one of the very few games I got day one. And it's really cool because it actually incorporates elements of a game that you would not think it would incorporate elements of too, but Mega Man, the Battle Network games on Game Boy Advance, where they have the gridded battle system and you can move enemies around to your advantage. You can do that in Radiant Historia, and there's also the time travel thing, which is a book. And you can change the timeline, go back, fix fucked up things, go back forward in time on 2 different timelines, and kind of figure things out and set your story straight. Almost, I guess, is the best way I can describe this.
Some of the classics have that.
Yeah, the Chrono Trigger. I mean, but yeah,
Exactly.
Radiant Historia is kind of like that. But it's a game I highly recommend you play. I need to play it more. I've never beaten it, but I really plan on beating it soon. Really good game.
So my next one is one by a company that doesn't really get a whole lot of recognition. This is Dragon's Crown. They're getting a little bit more recognition now with Dragon's Crown, but it's Vanillaware. They hand draw the whole game.
So badass.
It is amazing. All the backgrounds are made, and they make all the animations for the characters, and it's really beautiful. Genuinely something that's really fun to look at as well as play. This one is just you have your characters and you have the main town area, and you can actually set up your team and then go out to the dungeon, get stuff done, come back and do what you need to do in town.
Kind of a dungeon crawler. I love, did you ever play the Baldur's Gate games or Champions of Norath?
Yeah.
I love that kind of game. It's basically like loot a bunch of shit, come back, sell it, get better shit.
Same deal, yeah. And then it is, strictly one line, so you have the depth inward. So you have your character, and you can be here, here, or here, and you move up and down from there and attack where you need to.
It's kind of like Radiant Historia, except for it's not tilted that way; it's tilted that way. So it's kind of a grid, but you can move back and forth that way. Interesting. That sounds really cool. It reminds me of Muramasa for Wii.
Same makers. They make everything stunning. They really put a lot of work into it. Each of their titles, if they come out with anything, I know I need to pick it up. Muramasa is amazing. Dragon's Crown. They also make a couple other games that were published through other publishers, but not too many. There's like 2 or 3 other ones. So
interesting. Well, maybe you should do a video about that.
Yes.
That would be amazing. All right, so moving on. Hand-drawn art, I freaking love, by the way. Okay, so this next one, I know you are not a Shin Megami Tensei fan. Whatever, that's okay.
Happens.
Agree to disagree.
I know they're good.
But it's kind of cool because, this way you get to see the whole spectrum of Atlus games. I love a lot of Shin Megami Tensei games. Not all of them necessarily, but this is definitely one of my favorites. Digital Devil Saga, and there is a sequel to this as well. This is a pretty cool RPG, definitely JRPG. Emphasis on the J, but very cool third-person perspective dungeon crawler basically, and it involves these like different factions in this junkyard, and basically you are vying for power in there, and this mysterious person shows up. And you have to figure out why, and you're fighting other factions, and it's pretty crazy. But really of note is the graphical capabilities of the PS2 at this time. I think were really good, and also the music is just fucking memorable as shit. Even just the sound effects are really, really good and memorable, and it's just a really awesome game. Magic system is really cool. I always thought the Final Fantasy VIII magic system was a little bit convoluted and a little bit clunky. This reminds me of it, but not convoluted and clunky. It's very cool.
Awesome.
It's very customizable. So yeah, pretty cool. You can kind of learn magic when and how you want, basically. You just have to put the time into it. So yeah, very good game.
My last one, and just touching the surface of an amazing series of games, is Disgaea. The other ones were self-published through Nice, who makes Disgaea, and they are just the most fun. They have a crazy story, really interesting, very unique story. It is another tactical, grid-based RPG, but it is fantastic. It is really good. I love it. Nice.
I actually just got that game recently, and the sequel, and just put it on briefly, and it looked so cool because it was just like, you're the bad guys.
Yeah, you always play the bad guy.
Yeah, and the art's really cool, and you're in hell, and that looks really cool, and there's quite a few of them too. So
yes,
it's
and there's another one coming out here soon. They're still going.
See, that's kind of cool because if you like one game, then you have a whole library to choose from. And from what I hear, these are really, really long games.
Yeah, they can definitely.
You can put hundreds of hours into these games.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you want to build up your characters too, you can go back to certain levels and do that level again, and build up your characters for battles and stuff like that, which is actually a really good idea.
That is pretty badass. Okay, so last game, my last game, and the last game that we have to talk about. I'm actually not going to just talk about this one game, but I'm briefly going to tell you about a whole franchise. This is also Shin Megami Tensei, but this is the Persona series. I just grabbed the first one because, really, for a PlayStation game, this game was really, it was just different. It was, it had a lot of innovation to it, and it's just unusual. There's so many different views to the game, and you're collecting monsters and breeding them together, and it's just really interesting. But the Persona games kind of morphed over time, and they eventually incorporated elements of, dating sims and, real life, and then, odd times, and just really strange series that is really cool and just kind of sticks out as something you're either going to love or you're going to hate. I know you're not a fan of it.
I think
it's pretty
series.
Cool. Yeah, even I have reservations about this series, but at the same time, I must say Persona 1 is really, really interesting, and doesn't have the whole like dating sim as much thing going on. You might like that one a little more. It also has a really cool isometric view, which I always talk about. I fucking love isometric views for some reason. And Persona 3, where you have to like commit suicide in battle to like attack. That is just fucking cool. I mean, it's just really dark.
Release the demons.
Yes, you have to release the demons by destroying yourself. It's fucking cool. It's just a really neat idea. Something you don't really see in games developed in America. That's the one thing is, you know, Shin Megami Tensei and even Atlus games in general just produce things that are not quite anything that you're going to see another company producing. Maybe a couple. Questionable. But, yeah, so that's basically all we have. Atlus is a really good company. I highly suggest you check them out. There's not much more to say about it other than just play one of these games, see what you think, and you'll feel the difference almost. It's like there's just a different air to these games. They really have a different personality than other RPG tactics makers or anything makers. Back in the day, Run Saber was just a shit. Still is. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Any of these games your favorite games? Do you guys like Atlus games? Do you guys like Shin Megami Tensei games? Do you like Disgaea? And what do you think we left out? What are your favorite Atlus games? If there are other games that you think, you know, maybe we don't own or that we just kind of left out. Maybe they were just there almost on the list and they didn't quite make it. But, yeah, that's all we have. Thank you very much for showing up.
Of course.
I really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you again. And that's all I have. If you guys liked the video, please give a thumbs up. It really helps me out and lets me know that you actually like what I'm putting out. And if you want to see more content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's down there. It's red, and it says subscribe, believe it or not. Thank you very much for watching, and that's all we have. Keep rocking the retro games. Yeah.